Hi everyone, I'm Josh from ChaosTrack, and I want to show you our cybersecurity tabletop game today that's focused on how to stop an email bomb attack. This is actually a live incident that I had the privilege of being involved with fairly recently, so we'll see how I do as I proceed through the game. Now, a few pieces of context that I want to give you before we launch into the game. By way of background, ChaosTrack is a web-based SaaS application that makes every company ready for cyber incidents with AI. If you like this video, please be sure to like and subscribe. A little bit of context about the simulation you're about to see. So there have been some great articles that have been going around about email bombing combined with either phishing or Teams-based attacks. Sophos wrote a really detailed technical breakdown around this. There are also some great articles out on Reddit. You search for email bombing combined with phishing, you're going to find lots of really great information that you can use inside of your organization. For this simulation, we asked our AI to create us a simulation based on email bombs. We actually gave it a couple of these articles to use by way of background. And just a few minutes later, and after answering a couple questions about the organization, we had a fully customized cybersecurity tabletop game. So the player in this game is someone technical. It's an IT admin. We have other games that are for end users and executives, and it's kind of unlimited flexibility there. But this one is for an IT administrator. Company name is Acme Industries. It's a manufacturing company. They use Windows. And some of the core systems you're going to see me mentioning during the game are Microsoft 365, Proofpoint as their secure email gateway, SentinelOne as their EDR, Okta as their MFA, Salesforce as their CRM, and then a custom homegrown application called The Dashboard that's their ERP. So without further ado, let's get into the game and see whether I'm a champ or I don't do so well. All right, let's jump into this email bomb game and see how we do. So I got my email here. I'm going to just click on the link. 10:15 a.m. on Tuesday, Sarah calls the help desk and says, I need help. Over 3,000 emails in the last 30 minutes. A bunch of the people on the finance team are having the same issue. And, it's not just an email bomb. They're getting strange voice calls over Teams from people claiming they're from the help desk, but they don't recognize the voices. Well, thankfully, they realized that they didn't recognize the voices. But let's go through the game and let's see how we do. So, get more details from Sarah and David. I think that was the other name. And let's see what we hear back. Other members started around 8:52 a.m. Teams call. Okay, so same story from both Sarah and David. Not much to add there. Let's see. Maybe the first thing we want to do is, in this case, this fictitious company, Acme, uses SentinelOne. So let's check SentinelOne, see if anything weird is going on there. No weird alerts. It does look like someone tried to download AnyDesk and that was blocked. So that's a good thing. Sounds like this might be malicious. So just to be safe, let's reset the passwords for the finance team. I happen to know that this company uses Microsoft 365 and other common systems. So, okay, password resets are all set. This company also uses Okta. So let's check Okta logs for any suspicious logins. Okay. Yeah, checking these two accounts, there's nothing weird going on there. Let's also make sure that we set MFA in Okta, right? Because sometimes that's separate from passwords. And even though it's a pain in the neck for the users, we still want to put them through that process. I'm a little concerned that maybe something happened that we haven't figured out yet. So quarantine the computers in SentinelOne. Typos don't matter. The AI is smart enough to figure that out. Good. Okay. So the machines are isolated right now. So hopefully between the password resets and the isolation of the machines, we've blocked any malicious activity that the attacker might be doing. So now let's do a little bit of reconnaissance. Check the Teams logs for inbound calls, right? Let's maybe start there since that was the piece that was the payload, right, in the attack. Okay. So there's this is obviously a fake domain, has nothing to do with our company, and we can see that the calls are going in there just like the users reported. So let's block Acme support team on Microsoft.com from inbound calls in Teams, right? Once we have this indicator of compromise of who's actually initiating the call, we want to make sure to block the call. So if I scroll back up, the AnyDesk was a hint with Sentinel-1. So I'm going to say check in Sentinel-1 if any other computers downloaded or executed AnyDesk, right? Because we want to see if we know that AnyDesk was the payload, the remote control tool AnyDesk, then we're going to want to log in and see if any computers had AnyDesk successfully installed. Looks like there were a couple that were attempted to be downloaded, but nothing was successfully installed. So that's a great outcome. We got lucky on this one. So I happen to know this company uses Proofpoint as their secure email gateway. Let's check Proofpoint for other employees getting email bombed. Let's see if this is impacting anyone else. So there's 4 people who have gotten thousands of messages, and those are all the people in the finance department. So we're on the right track here. This company also uses a tool called Dashboard. They just call it Dashboard internally. That's kind of their like ERP system. So check for suspicious activity in Dashboard. Let's check that. And then after that, we're going to check Salesforce because they also use Salesforce. So we want to look and see if there's anything weird happening there. Yep, nothing weird. Check Salesforce for weird activity. Let's see if anything happens there. Okay, now during this whole time, while I'm doing all this reconnaissance work, the poor finance team are without machines. So, ship emergency machines to the finance team so they can get back to work. We don't want to have them just sitting and waiting because obviously doing this in real time would take hours and hours and hours. So there's multiple machines that were sent out to the whole finance team. Let's do this. Check the email bomb emails for common senders, subjects, or IP addresses, right? Because maybe we'll get lucky, and this probably won't be the case, but maybe we'll get lucky and they will all have come from, some easily identifiable things. So yeah, no common sender patterns or domains, unfortunately. So that's not going to help us. Escalation, we haven't really thought about escalation. So in this company's case, their CTO is the point of escalation, the incident to the CTO, right? We probably should have let them know earlier, right? As soon as we got a sense that there was something truly suspicious or malicious happening, we'd want to send this up to the CTO. Now, that begs the question, in this company's case, the engineer who's working on this simulation, it's not their job to call cybersecurity insurance or get law enforcement involved or anything like that. So I'm not going to enter any of those things. Obviously, if this were a different kind of simulation, more focused on executives or an incident response team, then those would totally be within scope and would be something that we'd want to do. One other thing is we should probably let other people know that this is happening. So send an all staff notification. And you know what? I'm going to say we're going to do it on Teams because if other people are getting an email bomb, then they're not going to be checking their email, or they're certainly not going to see it, about the warning signs of this attack. So hopefully by sending it on Teams, it'll get through to their computers, it'll get through to their phones if they have Teams on their phones. And so great, we sent a notification out. I'm starting to run out of ideas, so I'm going to click on Get a Hint and see what the AI tells me to do. Okay, yeah, so in proper incident response, right, you want to create a document of the timeline of the incident. And obviously it's a good idea to do that while you're working on it, because going back and recreating it from logs and everything can be a real pain in the neck. And then download all logs used in the investigations. I'm going to take a snapshot of those because, as we know, logs roll off, so we want to make sure that we have these. And that's about it. That's all that I can think of right now. So I'm going to go ahead and end my turn. And the system just asks me for some feedback about my experience. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over and take a look at the report that the AI generates, and we'll see how I did. All right, so here's my game. I'm going to go ahead and view the dashboard. Now, I was the only data point, right? If this were a whole group of people playing, which is what companies usually do with this product, then you'd see a full range here. But here's my details. And you can see I got a 74%, and there are recommendations down here about the things that I missed. But let me click into it and we can just kind of look at the report together. So the way the system works is that it'll grade each of the things that I did as either correct, incorrect, or neutral. And then at the end, it'll tell me the things that I missed. So I won't say I'm cheating, but I have actually lived through this incident fairly recently. So the things to do are fairly fresh in my mind. Obviously, if you were coming into this cold, then you might not have as smooth of a process as I just did. So I've gotten mostly correct actions. You can see that this kind of matches up to the gameplay. But let's kind of keep going down here and we'll see how I did. Okay, so get a hint, right? That kind of counts against you from a scoring perspective. But what's really interesting is the kind of things that I missed. So, I didn't check in Teams for calls to other employees. I should have explicitly done that. I didn't talk to the CTO about disabling external Teams access, right? That might not work for every company, but it's something that we should have done to talk about, okay, do we even need Teams external access in the first place, which really reduces the risk level. Pull down a report of email volume. I didn't implement any emergency proof point rules, but I'm okay with this because the AI told me that there weren't any common IP addresses or senders or anything like that. I checked Sentinel-1 for alerts, but I should have also kicked off a deep scan, confirm email blocking. Oh, yeah, and I didn't really, I got the finance department their computers again, but I never went back and confirmed that email flow was appropriate. Discussed with the CTO whether to completely wipe the machine. So I sent the finance team computers, but I never really decided what to do with the old computers. And absolutely we should have wiped that, the whole nuke from orbit thing. Oh, here's a neat idea. Create temporary email addresses for finance, right? They might have, while they were still getting the email bomb, they might have needed a temporary email address just to get their work done, depending on how long the bomb lasted. Implement stronger methods for employees to authenticate callers from IT. Okay, this is a really good one because this was the MGM attack, right, that we all heard about in the news, is when someone calls into a help desk, or conversely, when a help desk calls an employee, how do they actually know that the people they're talking to are legit? So that's a really good point. Not a bad result. 74% is actually a pretty good score because these simulations are designed to be pretty challenging. But again, I lived through this recently, so have some experience with it. But if you have any interest in trying to do this or similar simulations in your own organization, please go ahead and contact ChaosTrack at chaostrack.com.